Hi! Happy Tuesday or Wednesday, whenever I upload this. Let's talk about TIFIOS! Hi, Megan. Okay, I have chapters 10 through 14, and this is my list. And I already filmed, and I went over my time, so... Okay, chapter 10, they're going to Amsterdam, and her mother and her are talking about how many suitcases they could take, because Hazel can't carry one and her mother can't carry two. So then her mother gets her up at 5:30, even though their flight doesn't leave at noon, and they eat breakfast with her dad, and Hazel has this whole little deal about eggs being its own food rather than just a breakfast food, and her dad isn't going with them, so when her and her mom walk out to the car, he walks with her and he starts crying. And I just wanted to mention the female versus male gender roles being reversed, because apparently that was a big thing. I remember people talking about that. So that happens, and so then they go to Augustus's, and Augustus is yelling at his mom, and so Hazel's mom and her go back to the car and wait, and she texts Augustus, and then he comes out, and they have this little hi, okay thing, and okay. So they get to the airport, and Hazel goes through the metal detectors without her oxygen tank, and it's the first time in a while since she has, and like, I guess she was like, it hurt and stuff because she didn't have her oxygen. And so then they get to the gate an hour before they're supposed to. So Augustus goes off to get some food, and her mother sit there, and Augustus is acting weird, like he isn't texting her back or anything. And so he gets there, and he's like, sorry, the line was really long at McDonald's. And so then they get on the plane, and they have the conversation about eggs again. And then Augustus is like, sorry, I just didn't want everyone to look at us or whatever when we were all together. That's why I wasn't with you guys. And he's just like upset, and he doesn't want to get upset today. And so they get on the plane, and they're watching movies, and no, they get on the plane, and Augustus has never flown. Oh my god. And he's so cute because he's like, oh my god, this is so amazing, oh my god. And oh, it's so cute. So then, like, they have to get on a different plane. So they watch movies, and Augustus's movie starts before hers, and that's, like, I guess a big metaphor for something happening later on in the book. So then they have a discussion about how many people have died and, like, stuff like that. And scary stuff, like just like how many people do you think have died, what's going on, blah 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 blah. Then she recites a poem to him, and he tells her that he's in love with her. And so then chapter 11 starts with them landing, and there's a lot of imagery in this book, and I think that comes from the fact that John was living in Amsterdam for like 2 months. So it talks about they go to the hotel, and she sleeps, and that night her and Augustus go out on a date to this really amazing restaurant, and Amsterdam's just beautiful, and everything's beautiful, and they have champagne, and they love it, and they eat so much good food, and they talk about how Gus, his suit that he's wearing, they got all dressed up, and he's wearing a suit, and it's his suit that he's gonna be buried in. Like, when he first got his cancer, he made plans for him to die, even though there was an 85% chance he would live. And so they eat, and then they go for a walk around the canal, and they get on the topic of how they're excited about Peter Van Houten and blah blah blah. And then they have a discussion about God and what they believe in. And then Hazel asks about Caroline Mathers, and basically he says that like they liked each other and blah blah blah. And then he ended up learning about her cancer, and I guess it's called the asshole tumor because it turns you into an asshole. So she was just like really mean, but he couldn't like dump her because she had a brain tumor, but he couldn't tell like between her and the tumor ever, because the tumor was just taking over her body, and she eventually died. And Hazel was like, I'm so sorry, you shouldn't have had to go through that, blah blah blah. And she's like, I don't ever want to do that to you. And he goes, oh, I wouldn't mind, Hazel Grace. It would be a privilege to have my heart broken by you. They're so in love. They're so cute. Oh, okay. Chapter 12. They're getting up to go meet Peter Van Houten, and she's really nervous. She's like, I don't know how to get there. all the houses look the same. What do I wear? So, and then Augustus comes, and I guess she calms down a little bit, and they get to his house, and he answers the door, and he's like, he calls to assistant Ludwig, like, what are these kids doing here? Who are they? And so Peter invites them in, and he talks to them about scotch and how to drink scotch and how you should just have scotch and the image of water and like the mind thought of water instead of actual water. So then he talks to them about, like, she asks them if he can ask them some questions, and he ends up going off on a rant about Zeno's tortoise paradox, which I didn't bother reading because I wouldn't have understood it anyways. So they talk about that. He talks about that for a while, and then Augustus and Hazel eventually get to ask some questions. And he gets angry because he didn't understand that the Dutch tulip man was God. But, like, he gets angry, and then he's, like, angry about them being sick children. And he's like, I don't, like, you thrive on pity, and blah blah blah. And he, like, basically tells them that they're, like, useless, and it's so upsetting. And she gets angry, and they leave, and Augustus is like, I'll write an epilogue for you, I'll tell you what happened. So then Ludwig, I say that right? Whatever. Ludwig had quit being his assistant because she's like, I'm done, you're so mean, I can't do this. So they go to the Anne Frank house, and Hazel walks up all the stairs, she does it all, and I'm so proud of her for doing it because that's hard to do. And then her and Augustus end up making out in the Anne Frank house, and everyone's like, oh yeah, and I'm like, that's ridiculous. So then they go back to Augustus's room and they have sex. And then we get this lovely little thing. You probably can't see it because it's backwards, but that's like, oh, so good. Chapter 13, we're flying today. Chapter 13, he basically tells her that he has cancer again, and he's probably not going to make it because he lit up like a Christmas tree, and he's not undergoing chemo because he doesn't think he can make it, I don't know, and it's just so upsetting. And he's like, I'll fight it for you, and oh, it's so bad. Chapter 14, they come back home, and Hazel and her dad have a very good, like, little conversation. Like, he read An Imperial Affliction, and her and her dad, he talks about what he believes in, and he goes, sometimes I believe the universe wants to be noticed, and that's, like, the best quote of the whole book. So then they go to Augustus's house, and Isaac comes over, and they talk to Isaac about how Monica hasn't been talking to him, and Isaac is there, and I'm just excited about Isaac. How Monica's not talking to him, and what happened in Amsterdam. And then Augustus had this great idea, and he's like, let's go to the store, and Hazel buys them eggs, and they egg Monica's car, and they take a picture, and then the last quote from the chapter is, I never took another picture of him. Oh no, we're getting to the bad part of the book. Okay, so that's over. I guess I'll talk to you guys again next Tuesday/Wednesday. Megan, I can't wait to see you. DFTBA.